Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hey everyone, welcome to another video on the JayBee and Milly channel. Today we are going to be watching what is it?
The Crypt Keeper.
Something about a caped crusader.
The Caped Crusader Caper.
Whew.
Oh.
That was more of a mouthful than the last one.
Is it?
So, I'm so sorry everyone. So in this episode, it's Scooby and the gang meeting Batman and Robin for the second time.
Why not? Why not?
Who knows?
Like, they're not gonna. Who knows? Who cares? Like, they're there. They're doing that thing.
So ultimately, this is an actual very good introduction to this episode because this is one of the first ones from this series where it's not just the gang going along the road in the mystery machine and it breaks down. They're already somewhere new, they're camping in the forest, and ultimately I feel like they're setting up a good atmosphere at the start.
Yeah, you know, it's a bit of a different one, as you say. It reminds me almost of a classic episode in that we don't really get the benefit of technology or necessarily the kind of large landscapes of a big city, but they're literally just camping, really. They're just by the campfire doing their thing. It's almost like the equivalent of just dancing to the radio on the beach. It's just a classic setting, not much to it, but at the same time it's decently simplistic, which I appreciate.
It's good. Anyway, so as the gang seem to be enjoying themselves, making jokes about Shaggy wanting food and things like that, you see the Joker in the background who's wanting to scare the gang, I believe, at this stage. So ultimately that leads to a little bit of a mess where Shaggy and Scooby end up caught in a cage as we see the Batcopter land.
Yeah, and I like Batman and Robin in this a lot more than in the first episode. I feel like in the first episode that they were in, they were kind of just in the way almost. But in this, I feel like they are on, like, it's very much how I view Courage the Cowardly Dog, that crossover movie. It's a Batman story, but the gang are not necessarily in the way, but they're almost just cameoing, which I can appreciate from the point of view, like, I know we're not going to get much of a mystery. I know that it's just going to go through, say, a superhero cartoon. You know, there's a bad guy who has a dastardly plot, and now they're gonna try and thwart them. It doesn't really work out that way for me in the middle of the episode, but at the start, at least, it's a good setup in that I can appreciate at least the superhero stuff. My only kind of gripe is the fact that it's Joker and Penguin again, because I get they're the ones that people are gonna know the most, but there's just so many like villains to choose from when it comes to Batman and Robin that I'm kind of like, does it have to be the same two again?
Not only that, but it's also, like you said, they're existing within almost like, I don't know, I kind of feel like the gang are almost intruding on Batman and Robin's world, because realistically the gang have far more recognizable villains than Batman and Robin do, so it seems very centric around them to bring their villains back.
At this point, I don't know if that's true, because even at this point, I don't think you had Harley Quinn yet, but you definitely had the Riddler, Clayface, Two-Face, Catwoman even would have been good for it. There's so many villains. There's that massive, the Mothman, you know, there's loads that I can kind of think of if I sat here for ages and listed off, that it's kind of like, I don't know, not as many as Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man's probably got the most recognizable villains, but Batman's definitely second. Some might even argue first in terms of the quote-unquote rogues gallery.
Interesting take there, at least. So it's revealed that the cage that Shaggy and Scooby are trapped in is actually that of Batman and Robin's, and ultimately this is one of the first times where we almost you kind of get some variation with it, where they recognize people, they don't recognize people. They at least seem to know of Batman and Robin here, and they're like, oh, you know, we're trapped by the good guys, it's okay.
Yeah, and again, I don't really, that's kind of just through the motions, right? They always recognize the guest, but I think what's nice is that the guest doesn't necessarily go, oh yeah, it's you from this time, but they very much show that they have a pre-established relationship, in that they care about the gang, or maybe this is just how they want to portray superheroes, and that when the gang are kind of like, yeah, can we help, how can we do this, how can we do that, Batman makes a point of saying, okay, here's how you can help, but please don't like put yourselves out there because these two are like dangerous criminals and you kind of just kids. Just do your thing, but ultimately, don't put yourself in danger, which I like, because if it's because he knows the gang, it's sweet, and if he's just a good superhero, then that's kind of a person that you can root for in many ways.
Yeah. So ultimately, this is the start of the shenanigans where the gang tried to join Batman and Robin in, catching Joker and Penguin. So moving on from there, we see an iconic thing, which is that turning bridge. I feel like a lot of people have the memory of this turning bridge ingrained in their minds.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily knowing it's this episode. I wouldn't have known what episode it was from, but it's certainly just that bridge in itself is ingrained.
I think I would have known it from this episode, but I wouldn't have been able to identify, oh yeah, it was this specific one of this specific season, because I think I would have been exposed to this episode mostly from when they just sold the 2 episodes separately in the Scooby-Doo meets Batman VHS, Scooby-Doo meets Batman DVD. So this is probably what I would have known it from back then, and even to an extent now, you can pretty much view that as a movie, kind of just a movie.
I mean, I didn't have access to that VHS or that DVD, and I think that's part of the reason I didn't do a plot summary at the start here is because this ultimately is an episode that I was quite unfamiliar with.
Well,
and so I think it's quite good to just have this discussion.
There isn't much of a plot, to be honest. And this is why the middle is where it kind of ruins it for me. I think it's got a good start and a decent ending, but I think the middle is just exactly what I didn't like about the first time that the gang met Batman and Robin, and that's that we have a very simple goal. Joker and Penguin want a flying machine from a professor. It's like a flying suit. That's
the end.
But then, because we know we're not getting a normal Scooby episode, like we know who's behind it, and we know that nothing that the gang encounter is going to be paranormal, even though we never really like believe that, at least at this point, it's kind of interesting to see, oh, I wonder who's doing this, I wonder what the explanation is, or if you see a ghost flying through a wall, you're like, okay, I know this is just going to be written off as not real, but I wonder at least how it's going to be. Is it mirrors? Is it a projector? We don't know at this point. Whereas now, this is just kind of repetitive in that the gang go into a room because eventually they find a cave, and it's just prank wars between Joker and Penguin, which is decently entertaining, but when there's no mystery behind it and it's just Shaggy falls over, cut to, Joker and Penguin laughing. Velma falls down the stairs, cut to Joker and Penguin laughing, and you keep on going in that cycle. It gets quite repetitive, and it's just, okay, where are we going? Is this
like
going to be
it? I'm almost getting flashbacks to the first one we saw, where there was is it that mystery house where there's random doors and things drop and things like that?
Yeah, and there's like a treadmill on the floor.
Yeah, see, when you're speaking, I was visualising that episode. Because, like you say, it's quite a similar premise. So, like you say, it's just a series of events. Like, they go and explore the cave. There's a ghost telling them to go away.
And 100%.
Shaggy and Scooby find
it's
a boat.
the Joker, right? And they're not going to do dark Joker. So, of course, the Joker is going to pull jokes, clearly. But then at the same time, is Penguin the right person for that? Could we do a villain that's got a medium to do different jokes? So, Riddler, the illusions, mind control, like the Ghost Clown.
You say Joker and jokes. I'd like to see a movie that's Riddler with riddles, because Velma's a brainy character. Let's let a dynamic happen there. That would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Like, say somebody goes missing, the Riddler leaves all these little riddles that Velma has to try and solve to get to the end goal. Perfect episode.
And we even see more recently in Happy Halloween Scooby-Doo, the Scarecrow, famous Batman villain, challenges Velma psychologically, whereas here the Joker's fine, and I think the Penguin's just there to go, oh, look at this, not just a henchman, it's a recognizable henchman.
Yeah,
it's just repetitive, just jokes, and that is fine, don't get me wrong.
There's one element that's fun that we see once they leave the caves, they go out to the factory.
Ooh.
And we see the balloons.
Oh, I did love that, because you've got Yogi Bear, Red Flintstone, and then Batman. Do we have Robin? I think we have Robin. But those are the ones that we definitely have. And I really like that, because for all Scoob was kind of ripped apart for just setting up a Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe, I kind of do like the idea that for all a good 80% of them I don't really care about, like, I do at least like the thought that they all exist within the same world.
And I guess for me, that's kind of it until the conclusion, right?
Yeah, it's very repetitive. Honestly, there isn't much to say at all. Not much at all. It's just
So I know you said you
stuff.
liked the start, you liked the end. Tell us about the end.
So the end is just really entertaining. I think it's, again, when I view this episode as an episode of superhero show, what I'm expecting from the end is just a good action sequence, and I think we get that mainly again through another joke, but it's Scooby with the flying machine. But I think the way that Scooby interacts with the villains, you know, and the balloons, and the way that, you know, he presses the wrong button and goes berserk, I think all that is really good animation. It's really good action. And so if I say that, okay, fine, this is not an episode of Scooby-Doo, this is an episode of an old Batman series, I can appreciate that it ends with a bit of a bang, like almost like a finale. So yeah, I like the ending.
So I guess, like you say, that's kind of it. And with that, we're going to verdict. So JayBee, for you, is this a smash or pass?
It's difficult. I feel like I liked more than I didn't like. It's just I wouldn't rush to watch it again just because it's so repetitive. I think I would pass this one. It's not awful enough to say I'm never going to watch it again, but it's repetitive enough to say that I don't need to watch it again.
Yeah, I think, you know, in terms of my verdict here, like, I'd personally say if I had to choose between the two Batman episodes, I'd choose the first one.
Yeah, because at least then they had like the shenanigans of the flipping house.
Yeah, as opposed to, I don't know, like Dark Factory and Dark Cave, and whereas the other one at least seemed like a bit of a fun house.
And there was the mystery in that they had to unmask the old woman as the purple hooded character.
Yeah.
There's not a mystery here.
Yeah, I'd agree completely. And so to that end, this is a pass for me. Ultimately, if I'm going to a Batman Scooby-Doo crossover, this is probably the last one I'm going to choose. And so to that end, I think it's a unanimous pass.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. A bit of a short episode, but honestly, if we dragged this out, I think it'd be just as repetitive as
the episode itself.
Yeah, as the jokes. So that's kind of it. In terms of community news, there is an interview that's being announced today.
Oh la la.
And I'm not gonna. Well, I guess I can say because this will go out at 10. But check over on Instagram.
I'm sorry.
It's, I don't know. Oh god, I've forgotten how to spell that. Pronounce it. I wrote it down. So it's Joe Sichter, and if you don't know that name,
You should.
I don't know what to tell you. Go on IMDb. Go on Scoobypedia. Literally, the list of Scooby credits is ridiculous. So
Golden era Scooby.
that was,
which for me is what's new. That era.
Incredible. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. If you do want to see more reviews like this, then please like, comment, and subscribe.
We'll see you next. JayBee and Milly.